Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be talking about the quantum internet, or as we say in English, the quantum internet. Um,
It's quite the topic, that's for sure.
yeah, it is. It really is. Like, are you ready to kind of have your mind blown a little bit?
Always.
Yeah, it's a little out there,
Yeah.
but it's really cool. So, just to give you an idea, like even the website, like for this essay that we're looking at today, like the voiceover is in German.
Yeah, the author, Yurigo Schneppet.
Snippet, yeah,
Yeah, it's a very international topic.
it is a global phenomena.
Uh,
Okay, so to get started, let's compare it to something we already know, like the current internet.
right, the classical internet, as they
Yeah,
call it.
yeah, exactly.
So right now we're used to sending bits,
Hmm.
electronic signals over wires and fiber optic cables.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All very sequential. Um,
But the quantum internet,
yeah.
it uses this thing called entanglement.
Okay, so we're already talking about entanglement. So what is entanglement?
Entanglement. Well,
Yeah.
it's
Is it like teleportation?
yeah, I mean, it kind of is. Schneppet talks about data teleporting, really.
Okay, so that's a pretty fundamental difference then, right, between
Yeah.
the classical internet and the quantum internet.
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, Schneppet lays it out. The classical internet, your data travels in a very sequential way, like
Mm.
cars on a highway.
Yeah, yeah, one after another.
Yeah, one after another. The quantum internet, though, it's like
But
those cars all became like synchronized swimmers.
okay, wait, hold on. What?
So they're all moving together, mirroring each other, no matter how far apart they are.
Oh, that's okay. I'm starting to get it, but I'm also kind of like my mind is blown a little.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah. Um, okay, so let's bring this back down to earth a little bit. Like,
Right.
what does this actually mean? Like for us regular people, like what about security? Like online security? Because we hear all the time about data breaches, hacking.
Hmm.
Could the quantum internet be the answer?
Well, I think it's safe to say that security on the quantum internet would be, well, a lot better.
Okay, that's good. That's what we want.
Schneppet explains how our current internet relies on algorithms that are very complicated, but they
Yeah.
can still be cracked, right?
Yeah.
But with the quantum internet and its use of quantum cryptography,
Hmm.
well, security goes up a whole nother level. Um, I like to imagine it this way, like someone trying to eavesdrop
Yeah.
on a quantum communication, it'd be like trying to read a message written in disappearing ink.
Okay.
Like the act of looking at it
Yeah.
destroys the message itself.
Wow, that's okay. No more worrying about someone stealing my credit card number.
Right.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But okay, I gotta be honest. All this talk about quantum this and quantum that,
Yeah.
like, it's kind of making my head spin a little bit.
Sure.
Is there a way to like understand this without needing a like PhD in physics?
Oh, absolutely. Schneppet does a great job breaking down these core principles, and there are three main ones. The first is superposition.
Okay.
You know how like a lock switch,
Yeah.
it's either on or it's off? Right. A qubit, which is like the quantum bit, the basic unit of quantum information.
Hmm.
It can be on A and D off at the same time.
Okay, wait a minute.
Is wild
So it's like the light switch is both up and D down at the same time.
until you look at
Did
it.
you observe it?
Exactly.
Right.
So it's like a super powered bit.
It's like a bit on steroids.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
can be in multiple states at once.
Okay. All right. I'm getting there. So this brings us to entanglement. This is one that always makes me think of Star Trek.
Right. Spooky action at a distance.
Yeah, exactly. So how does that work? Is that even real or is that just science fiction?
No, it's real. And Schneppet says it's at the heart of the quantum internet. So imagine, right, we've got two of those qubit light switches,
Mm-hmm.
and they're linked. So if one is on, the other is instantly off, even if they're miles apart.
Oh, okay. So that's entanglement.
That's entanglement.
Yeah.
Einstein called it spooky action at a distance.
Yep, he wasn't wrong. Okay, so how does that translate into like sending information, like emails, cat videos, all the things we do online?
Right, so that's quantum communication, right? So Schneppet explains it as information encoded in these entangled particles,
Okay.
often sent over fiber optic cables.
Right.
The information itself doesn't actually travel. It's more like the entanglement creates this instant link
Okay.
between the sender and the receiver,
Oh.
so they can share the information instantly.
So no more waiting for downloads.
In theory.
This is pretty mind-blowing stuff. Okay, let's get a little practical now. So, like, what kind of hardware would we need to make this quantum internet, happen? Like, is it just upgrading my router? Or are we talking about something completely different?
Oh, no, this is a
Yeah.
whole different scale of infrastructure.
Yeah.
Schnepphat talks about these key components. First, you have the quantum nodes,
Quantum nodes. Okay.
and they're like powerful quantum computers.
Oh, okay.
And they act like hubs, right? Processing and storing all this quantum information, like the super servers of the quantum internet, I guess.
Okay, and so to connect those nodes, I'm guessing we need something a little bit more advanced than, my Wi-Fi signal.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's where the quantum routers come in. They're directing the quantum information between the nodes and keeping that entanglement going over these long distances.
So we've got the nodes, and then we have the routers, and then of course we need the actual pathways, right, for this all to travel,
Right,
for these particles to travel.
right, the quantum channels.
Right.
And Schnepp mentions those could be fiber optic cables or satellite links or even, free space transmission. But the challenge is, keeping that entanglement going over those long distances.
Yeah, because the signal can degrade, right?
Exactly. Minimize that data loss.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it sounds like building this quantum internet is a little more complicated than just upgrading my router.
Just a tad.
Yeah. So we're talking about an entirely new network based on these mind-boggling, quantum principles.
I mean, it's complex.
It is a lot.
That's challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
But the potential.
huge. The potential is huge. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's what we're going to get into next. We're going to explore the potential applications of the quantum internet.
It can revolutionize
For
communication,
everything.
push the boundaries of scientific discovery.
It's really wild. So stay tuned because things are about to get really interesting.
Welcome back. Now that we kind of have a basic understanding of how the quantum internet works, let's dive into like the potential applications. Schneppbat lays out a lot of different possibilities.
Yeah, we talk about those remarkable rewards, right? So
Yeah.
what really stood out to you as like the most impactful potential application?
I think the one that would have the most immediate impact is security, like communication security.
Mm.
Imagine a world where all our sensitive information, financial transactions, personal data, all of it, virtually unhackable.
Unhackable communication? That sounds amazing.
Ah.
Like how does that even work?
Well, it's all thanks to quantum cryptography. Schneppot actually goes into detail about this protocol called BB84.
BB84.
Yeah, and it uses these quantum mechanics principles to make sure that the key distribution is secure. Remember we were talking about how if you try to observe a quantum state, you change it?
Yeah.
Well, that's basically how BB84 works. So if anyone tries to listen in, intercept that key, the sender and receiver, they know right away.
So it's like a built-in security alarm.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay, so that's huge for like governments and corporations and all that. But like what about me? How does this affect, everyday people?
Well, think about it. Your medical records
I know.
transmitted with complete security, no more data breaches, no identity theft,
Right.
online banking, completely secure. No more worries about, hackers getting your financial information.
I like the sound of that.
Ah,
Okay, so it's not just about keeping things secret, right? Schneppot also talks about how the quantum internet could revolutionize scientific collaboration.
absolutely.
What does that look like?
Imagine researchers all around the globe, all working together on these groundbreaking projects, sharing huge data sets, like instantly and securely.
So no more emailing those giant files back and forth.
Yeah.
That's got to be a win for science.
Oh, yeah, it's about speed, it's about security, it's about the ability to handle all that data. Schneppot uses the example of genomics research. They deal with massive data sets of genetic information. And with the quantum internet, they could share and analyze all that data securely and so much faster, potentially leading to breakthroughs in personalized medicine.
Wow. That is revolutionary. Schneppot also mentions this thing called distributed quantum computing.
Yeah.
Is that like as cool as it sounds?
Oh, it's even cooler. So picture this. Instead of having individual quantum computers all working by themselves,
Right.
you connect them all together through the quantum internet. So now you have this network of quantum powerhouses working together to solve problems that no single machine could handle.
So it's like a quantum superbrain.
Right. It's like this network of minds all working together to solve these massive problems: drug discovery, material science, climate change. Schnepphat mentions all kinds of possibilities.
It's like we're living in a science fiction movie.
It is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But let's come back down to earth for a second here. Building this quantum internet, I mean, it can't be easy, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that Schnepphat talks about?
Well, he's definitely realistic about the challenges. I mean, one of the biggest hurdles is scalability. Just
Hmm.
building a network that can handle all that quantum information and keep that entanglement going over long distances is huge. And then there's decoherence. Basically, that's when quantum information gets lost because of, like, interference from the environment.
So, like, the signal degrades.
Exactly.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty big challenge.
Yeah.
Is there any reason to be, like, optimistic about overcoming all of this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Schnepa really emphasizes the progress that's been made in just the last few years. More stable qubits, advancements in quantum communication technologies, and just like more and more investment in quantum research worldwide. It's really exciting.
So we've got challenges, but there's momentum, and it feels like we're on the verge of something big, really transformative.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Schneppad says it best, we're witnessing the birth of a new era of communication and computing.
Yeah.
And it has the potential to really change our world in huge ways.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. But before we get too carried away with all the possibilities, we got to talk about the potential downsides,
Right.
the ethics, the impact on society. That's what we'll explore in our final segment.
It's important to have those conversations now while the quantum internet is still in these early stages so we can make sure it develops responsibly and that the benefits are available to everyone.
And we are back for our final deep dive into this, like, crazy world of the quantum internet. So we've talked about the science, we talked about the potential, all the amazing things it can do, but now it's time to get real.
Yeah.
Like, what about the downsides? What about the ethics? How's this going to impact society, in a real way?
It's super important to talk about all this now
Yeah.
while the quantum internet's still being developed. Schnepphat, he really stresses that. Like, we have this chance to shape it, to make sure it's used for good.
We don't want to just, like, unleash this powerful technology and, like,
Right.
hope for the best.
Exactly.
So what are some of the ethical concerns that Schnepphat brings up in his essay?
I think one of the biggest worries is, like, will it make inequality worse?
Right.
Because building this quantum internet, it's going to take, like, a ton of resources, a lot of expertise.
Yeah.
And you could see a situation where only the rich countries, the powerful corporations, end up benefiting.
It's like, everyone's waiting for the train, and it's like this high-speed train, and it just leaves a bunch of people behind.
Exactly. And Schnepphat, he suggests a couple of things, like international collaboration,
Okay.
open source initiatives. So making the technology, the knowledge available to everyone, developing countries too. So we can all, like, kind of move forward together.
Yeah, so that everyone benefits. Not just, like, the select few, but even if we figure out the access part, like, what about control? Schnepphat also talks about governance. Like, who controls this network? Who gets to make the rules?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like, how do we govern something this powerful? Do we want it to be like the early internet, kind of decentralized, or will it end up being controlled by, like, a few big players?
Decentralization sounds great in theory,
Right.
but is that, like, realistic? I mean, we're talking about really complex technology.
It's true.
It's got to be a global effort, right?
It does. Schnepphat doesn't, give a clear solution,
Mhm.
but he talks about involving everyone. Governments, companies, researchers, regular people. It's about finding that balance between letting it grow and develop and also making sure it's not getting out of control.
Right. That's a tricky balance. And then there's the issue of privacy. We talk about this all the time, right? Like, with all the data we share online. And we were talking about how the quantum internet could make communication unhackable. But, like, does that mean we have to give up our privacy?
Schnepphat talks about this tension, yeah. Like, if you have encryption that can't be broken, well, what does that mean for law enforcement? Can they still do their jobs? And what about, like, people using it for bad things?
Right. Because the more secure something is, the harder it is to get into, even if you have a good reason.
Exactly. Schnepphat suggests maybe looking into tech that lets you, like, decrypt things, but only in very specific situations, maybe with, like, a judge's approval. But it's tricky. There's a lot to figure out.
It's complicated. We got to make sure we have security, we got to protect people's privacy, and we got to have some accountability, right? It's like finding that sweet spot.
Right. And that's why it's so important to be having these conversations right now.
Right.
Like, before it's too late. We got to be proactive.
Yeah. We've covered a lot today, a lot of really fascinating, like, mind-blowing stuff
It really is.
about this quantum internet. But
Right.
it's clear it's not just about the tech, right? It's about how we use it, the ethics, the impact it's going to have on society.
Yeah. Schnepphat reminds us that, like, the future is not set in stone. We have the power to decide what it looks like. We can make sure the quantum internet benefits everyone, not just a few.
I like that. So I guess our deep dive is coming to an end here, but, keep exploring.
All
Keep
right.
learning about this stuff. It's important. And we'll see you next time. Stay curious.